Tonight's tonight, Dexter fans, because we have episode 9 of Dexter Original Sin, Blood Drive. Let's get into breaking this thing down. So, we open on Brian Moser playing bingo, and honestly, I was in awe at this scene. I wasn't expecting to see him in Original Sin in anything more than a cameo like we did in episode 2, but then again, he's been clearly becoming more and more part of the main story as the show goes on. Anyway, at the hospital, LaGuerta questions Harry about Brian, and he lies. He said that he stole the file because he wanted to see how he was doing after everything that happened to his mother. I'm surprised they actually addressed this, and if anything, it only creates more confusion in my head, because now LaGuerta knows more about Brian than she really should. It just muddles with Season 1's canon for Dexter, and wasn't really a wise choice in my mind. We could have just admitted this plot line, and it would have been gone, and we wouldn't have had to deal with it. But anyway, it doesn't matter because we flash back and we see Harry admitting to Spencer that he had an affair with Laura, and he begs him to search for her in the shipping containers. Spencer agrees and takes away Harry's detective shield, and now we have an in-universe explanation as to why Harry was in his police uniform when he finds Dexter. In current day, Spencer does more lying to perpetuate his story that he's innocent to his son's disappearance, and they do this edited thing where everything blurs around him in Dexter's view. And I know I previously said I like the different changes that Original Sin makes in editing and how it makes it more unique, but this one just felt odd. It looks off, like a fan-made edit. It looks like one of my thumbnails for this breakdown series, I'm not going to lie. Dexter breaks into Spencer's apartment to do some research, and we see a picture of what looks like another bowling team that Harry was on. And this looks like a precursor to Bowl Till You Bleed, which was Dexter's team in the original show, and a frequent excuse to go out and satisfy his dark passenger. Spencer gets into his apartment though, and Dexter's about to kneel him when he realizes Harry's in the apartment with him. Just as he's about to get caught, Dexter makes a lucky escape. In the morning, Dexter and Harry have a conversation, and we learn that Camilla's boat was called Slice of Pie, something pointed out in my comments in the breakdown of the last episode. And it's clearly a reference to her death in Season 2, in which Dex poisons her with a key lime pie, the perfect one so she can die peacefully. Deb joins the conversation and says she'll try not to date any other older men, but the heart wants what the heart wants. And this is obviously a little dig at the character of Lundy in Season 2 and 4, who was a fan favourite for Dexter fans. Anyway, Harry proposes that Debra go to work with Dexter so she can give blood for Bobby, who had been shot in the last episode. This time, we flash back randomly rather than being a reflection of what Harry is thinking in a current day scene, and we finally see the scene in which he finds Dexter and saves him, but leaves Brian. Bobby saves Brian, but we know how that goes. I'm kind of surprised we saw this scene so early. It felt like we were building up to this for it to be the last flashback of the show, because we know how everything goes from here. But no, we have more, and it gets interesting. There is some more stuff here to this story that we didn't previously know. Going back to Nicky, we establish he knows it's his father, and Spencer kind of taunts him, but masks it as a comfort when talking to him through that little gap in the door. Dexter gets into work, but doesn't wait with Deb in the bloodline and goes straight back into investigating Spencer and Nicky's disappearance. Tanya comes in and orders him to draw blood because he was pre-med, and the line for the blood drive is ridiculously long. LaGuerta goes down to records to investigate Brian some more, but Harry and Camilla have already tampered with the case files to remove any mention of Dexter, so she's off Harry's tail. This doesn't feel like a very good resolution to this plot line, but whatever. I feel like they just brought this in and had to close it up quickly so it didn't, lead in too much to future seasons if we get them, and obviously, Season 1's plot of Dexter. Flashing back, we see when Harry and Doris attempted to adopt Brian and Dexter, and while Doris shows some hesitation when she finds out these are Laura Moser's kids, she still agrees. Deb is looking around Miami Metro, and she's getting a feel for the idea that she might want to become a police officer. Dexter gets Spencer on his blood drive table, and because both suspect each other of being on their tails, they're basically just digging at each other and egging each other on for this whole interaction, and it's honestly quite great. Dexter's taking prints off the bag Spencer was using to carry Nicky's clothes when Clark comes in and explains that he wants to give blood but can't because he might have HIV. Dexter does him a solid and donates his blood but puts Clark's name on the bag. Masuka comes in and tells Dex he needs to donate blood himself, and Dexter tries to get out of it because he's already given a pint, but he can't, so he's being forced to give another. This is going to create problems later in the episode. Flashing back, and Brian tells Doris that Dexter's hungry. She goes to make him a sandwich, and baby Deb starts crying. Brian tries to smother the baby, but luckily Doris saves her. Brian's forced to sit on the sofa until Harry gets home, and when Harry does, he tries to speak to Brian about what he did to Deb, and Brian just lashes out, smashing a window and screaming that he hates being with Harry and wants to go home. In current day, Harry does some research into Brian and realizes he's been at all the crime scenes of his victims, watching Dexter. Back to Brian playing bingo, and it's become clear he's playing with a woman who would help separate him and Dexter, and he takes her out to his van and clocks her, knocking her unconscious. Deb gets home and learns that despite the incident at high school in the last episode, she could still get into the college she wants to go to. Dexter sets up a kill room for Spencer in an arcade that Nikki mentioned to him going to, and he baits Spencer out with a $5,000 ransom, the same tactic he used on Trinity.
Most certainly not a pedophile.
Well, I mean, it didn't really help him catch Trinity, but like, you know what I mean? He gets used to using this move to, bring his enemies closer. Doesn't matter though, because Spencer's not paying that bribe and instead takes a gun. Harry visits Bobby in the hospital while he's in a coma and asks for forgiveness for not being there for him, and also asks for advice on how to deal with Brian turning back into Dexter's life. Bobby wakes up and tells Harry to save Dexter. Flashing back, and we see Harry and Doris give Brian away because they can't deal with the level of trauma that he has. Spencer turns up to where Dexter has lured him into, and after a struggle, Dexter manages to put him into sleep. That struggle coming mainly from the fact that he's given 2 pints of blood. As I said, this is going to create some problems. Spencer wakes up and Dexter interrogates him but gets nowhere, because Spencer is still trying to claim that he's innocent. That is until he finally admits, once Dexter has a blade up against him, that he only did this to get back to his ex-wife. Dexter is startled by the sobering realization that one single incident, even something this small, can turn man into a monster. Spencer tries to use Nikki as a bargaining chip, saying that if Dexter doesn't let him free, he's going to starve, and Dexter cuts open one of Spencer's restraints. He takes out one of Spencer's fingers and promises that if he doesn't tell Dexter where Nikki is, there isn't going to be a hesitation cut on Spencer's finger. Spencer doesn't go for it though, so Dexter chops off his finger. Dexter leaves Spencer to think about what he's done, but doesn't realize that Spencer has got free. We finally see that Dexter's restraints aren't all that practical, as so many people on YouTube and TikTok have tested. Yes, I know these have already been cut, but you know what I mean. The point still stands. We even saw in the original show, people could get out if they wanted to. Miguel Prado was like halfway out when Dexter finished strangling him. Cutting to Brian, and we see him cutting into the lady from Bingo for separating him and Dexter. And the episode ends with Spencer getting away, Dexter on his tail, as we realize he only let Spencer free so he could get to Nikki and set him free. Now, that was episode 9 of Dexter Original Sin, Blood Drive. What did you guys think of this episode? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? I thought it was pretty good, personally. You know, nowhere near as good as last week's episode. That is like a top-tier Dexter episode out of the whole universe, not even just Original Sin. But yeah, just tell me all your thoughts down below. I'm going to see you next week for the final episode of Dexter Original Sin. God, it feels like this has come way too quick. I can't wait. I hope you're excited. See you next week.